Hello and welcome back to Stadia Source, your number one source for Stadia news and reviews. This is the Stadia Source Roundtable Podcast. My name is Avery, and we've got a great show for you tonight, so let's get to it. With me, as always, we've got one of the members of the Stream Team Dream Team. It's Dom.
Evening.
We've got our very own Editor-in-Chief, Mr. Dan Wheeler.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us this evening.
And we got the resident cowboy of the Stream Team Dream Team. It's Anthony.
What's going on, guys?
You didn't do the. Come on, man! Like
because I'm a cowboy. Okay. Oh man!
You just like I. That's it. We're starting the whole podcast over. Hold on. Let me. I'm just kidding. We're not gonna do that. You may know our guest tonight from their smash hit podcast, Sounds of Stadia, available wherever you get fine podcasts. It's Chris and Richie.
How are you doing, Avery, and the rest of them? We are here to talk Stadia.
Oh yeah.
Good evening, everyone.
Hello. Good to have you. It's been a while since we've had you guys on the show. I was doing the math, and I'm like, you know who we haven't seen in a while? That's Chris and Richie.
Always
you guys have had us on more recently than we've had you on.
Yeah, the Game Awards.
Yeah, it's a good. It was a good time. Go back and check out if you just for whatever reason didn't watch the Game Awards like a month ago. Head to the Sounds of Stadia channel.
Avery, new fun fact. You guys are probably hearing this for the first time, but now your mama knows. And those guys over there, we're against each other now. I was challenged.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, what is the beef that we have going on here?
It's not beef. It's a friendly challenge. Oh, it wasn't meant to be beef. It's a friendly race to 1,000.
Shots fired.
Okay.
No, they have 915 subscribers. I have 907. So it was like I was just watching their Scott Pilgrim stream, and Richie was like, "Well, let's see who get there first." So,
all right, folks, you heard it here. Go. I don't know who I should. We really like our Sounds of Stadia friends, but Anthony's on my team, so I can't really be like, I'll stay out of it. I'll be the neutral third party observer.
You can just subscribe to both, right?
Yeah. I was going to say, if you're not subscribed to either, then go and do it now.
Wait a minute. These guys have
right now.
These guys has dirty tactics. They was like, unsubscribe to him. I was like,
no.
What did he just say?
Lies and slander. Lies and slander.
Well, speaking of things you can subscribe to, before we get started, did you know you can get the Roundtable as an actual podcast? Search for Stadia Source on Spotify, Pocket Casts, Apple Podcasts, or wherever it is that you get podcasts, and newly added to the exact same podcast feed as you are used to seeing. It is the daily, near daily readout of the news headlines when there is actually news to read out, called the News Feed. So subscribe today. Also, if you're watching us live, we want you to be a part of the chat. Make sure you say hi. And if you really, really, really want to make sure that we bring up your message during the show, hit that super chat button or that super sticker button, and we will absolutely say hi to you and bring you into the conversation. Last but not least, you can join Stadia Source right here on YouTube. Members get amazing perks from exclusive community play live streams to early access videos to Stadia Source merch. So click the join button down below to learn more and become a member. So before we get into the meat of the week, why don't we give, for everybody, of course, knows Anthony, even your mama knows Anthony. Yep. So just so we can convince people to also subscribe the other way, why don't we give Chris and Richie an opportunity to tell us a little bit about them and Sounds of Stadia. So Chris, we'll let you get off. Tell us a bit about your Stadia history for those who aren't familiar with them, and then Richie, and then one of the two of you can tell us about Sounds of Stadia.
Yeah, so me and Richie are part of a trifecta of Stadia founders. Tom is our other co-host, and every week, if you've not seen it already, we bring you a weekly Stadia podcast in a very similar format to this one, where three friends all basically talk about all the gaming and Stadia news, rounded up for an hour or so show, like Avery said, available on all podcasting platforms, YouTube, Spotify, Google, Apple, all everything that you can pretty much Google and search for nowadays. We try and condense all. We try and have a bit of a laugh. We do a couple of live streams. We've actually just recently, just before this show, actually, we checked out Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which I know we're going to be talking about at some point through the show as well. We had a great time kicking some ass, defeating some evil X's on that one. But yeah, if you're into Stadia and you're into like-minded chit-chat about all things cloud gaming, then swing by and check us out. We'd appreciate any of your time, really. It's great.
Now, the problem with going second is Chris has just said everything. Yeah. So just think of what Chris just said in my voice and you're good.
All right. Well, that works. Well, good to have you both on the show today. Let's kick it off, as we always do, with a little bit of discussion of what we've been playing this week. So we'll go in this order. Why not? Dan, tell us what's been on your playlist this week, Stadia or otherwise.
It's been Destiny 2 again. Just trying to get raid ready because my father is moaning that basically nobody that plays Stadia or Destiny 2 on Stadia at the moment is of end game quality, if you like, at the moment. Because obviously a lot of people that got Destiny 2 on Stadia got it because it was free. And it's probably one of the first games that they can actually play on Stadia. So it's kind of filled with people who maybe aren't quite, up to that level of, yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. The noobs, basically.
He's trying to
so I'm trying.
Saying it.
Yeah, I've just offended like most of the Destiny Stadia community, but oh well. So yeah, just trying to get up to that level where I can maybe start doing some raids and some end game content with him. But other than that, I haven't really played anything. I want to play Scott Pilgrim, but I think I might wait for a sale for that one. I know it's cheap anyway, but I know I can probably squeeze a few quid out of that. So
there you go. Dom, what's been on your Stadia playlist or non-Stadia playlist?
I have been rinsing Dead by Daylight as it was the season end yesterday because it's the 13th of every month. They do their season reset. And for the first time on Stadia, I managed rank 1 on both Killer and Survivor, which was really tough, but it was cool to do it. And interesting fact, in an update coming soon, they're going to start doing rewards for your ranking and stuff. But I've been playing, I was just saying to the guys, I was playing Star Wars Fallen Order. So I watched Mandalorian a few weeks ago, and now I'm just like in a Star Wars mood. So I just like binge watched it completely, and now I'm playing Fallen Order on Stadia, which is incredibly frustrating, but I love it. And I downloaded Star Wars: The Old Republic, which is an MMO they did a few years ago, which I played when it first came out. I just thought it's free to play, might as well just give it a go again, and just been playing that. That's about it.
Very fun. Very good. Yeah, there's a lot of Star Wars happening lately, so we'll probably talk about that. Maybe in just a minute. Anthony, what's been on your playlist, Stadia or otherwise?
Man, I stayed up. Well, I didn't stay up. I'm always up late. I'm like Dan. I don't get much sleep, but I was up last night when Scott Pilgrim came out at midnight, and it's weird. It came out like 10 minutes late for Ubisoft Plus. Like it was like the weirdest thing. It was on the store, but it took like 10 minutes. But anyway, I played Scott Pilgrim. Still a classic. It's still awesome. Still probably one of my favorite beat 'em ups. But Blue Bobs and Scarlet got me kind of into Immortal Phoenix Rising. I needed something new to play, and the moment I turned it on, I played 4 hours straight, and then the next day I played 4 hours straight. So I've been really into that. And then my normal Avengers and Power Rangers and Pac-Man and stuff like that.
Very fun. Sorry, I was muted there. Like I'm just trying. Where is my mouse? But you have.
I was like, okay, fair enough.
Behind the scenes of Avery on the Stadia Source podcast, I have 2 monitors, but I'm not smart enough to have 2 monitors of the same size. So I have a 1080p monitor and I have a 4K monitor, which means when I move my mouse from one to the other, all hell breaks loose, and I can't find it anymore.
I know your pain. Yes. I have 3 monitors. One's 4K, 2 are 1080p, and none of them match.
Yeah, I had that at one point as well. I had to get rid of one just because it's like the Three Stooges.
I can't justify just buying a new monitor just to make it look better. Not the visuals, just this look of the monitor array.
Avery, you're supposed to tell the people I make you speechless. Come on, man.
I was just so flabbergasted by the fact that you're playing Immortals Phoenix Rising now, a game you are notorious for not wanting. You've never
that's Cyberpunk.
Okay, yeah. I haven't even played Cyberpunk yet. I'm not planning on it. Anyways, Chris, what's been on your Stadia playlist or non-Stadia playlist?
I am still chipping my way through merry old England in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm currently going through that typical age-old Ubisoft trait of clearing every single checkpoint in every single area, gathering up every mystery, every wealth before even considering moving on to the next chapter in the story. I'm getting really high level now, so the actual enemies that I do come across, I'm just batting clear left, right, and center. I'm really overpowered. I'm doing some more stuff in Asgard, but no, I'm really in the thick of it now. I think I'm about 65 hours in, so I'm probably starting to creep towards that end game of the story from what Richie's told me. But I'm looking to get through it quick because I've said on our podcast many times, I've got a wealth of games I've already bought and they're just lined up ready to play. And I don't want to commit to another massive game. But Immortals is on my radar. Hitman's like next week. And I still haven't even touched Watch Dogs. Watch Dogs is probably going to be next summer at this point.
Played it for 15 minutes and not played anymore since because there's just too many games to play. And I end up playing probably one of the oldest games like on Stadia.
He's playing stacks on stacks, you guys. We all know what the truth is here. And even Eli in the chat says, "You fall into the dark side, Immortals Phoenix Falling." That's a good one, Eli. That's pretty good. And Richie, what's been on your Stadia playlist or non-Stadia playlist?
So I rounded off last year by rolling credits on both Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Cyberpunk. And pretty much since the turn of the year, since I went back to work, I have not been able to just be in the right mind to jump into another big open world title because Immortals Phoenix Rising was going to be on the list. It still is. But so I've been playing a bit more casual stuff. So I've actually just been grinding away at the challenges on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 on the PS4 or 5, depending what room I'm playing in.
Very good. That's the wonder of cross play. Is it cross play, cross progression between?
It's got cross progression, and I've got the PS4. There isn't the PS5 version, but PS5 is backwards compatible. So,
and apparently, sorry, I just had to bring this up from Eli again. We love you, Eli, but Chris apparently has been playing Hitman the wrong way and gets caught and killing non-targets, and you're not supposed to do that, man.
I think that was me. I remember when we were playing during our stream, I found a battle axe. I'll just leave it there.
You just walk around like, I'm an Assassin's Creed, I will hack.
The lines between every type of game are just blurred at this point. It's one of those things. I think in any stealth game, you always approach it with the best intentions to be sneaky. And then as soon as anything goes wrong, it's like, all right, you're all dead. I'm killing you all. Let me through. But I'll definitely give it a good proper go.
You take the cue from Scarlett, who is so sneaky. Who she'll want to watch this later.
No one can find the body if everyone's dead, right?
Exactly.
Good point.
Those horrifying observations from the Stadia Source Roundtable podcast. As for me, still Assassin's Creed, and I am right there with you, Chris. I want to have nothing glowing, no dots on my map in any given region before I move on to the next one. I haven't gotten very far though. I've not broken the 100 mark on power just yet, so I'm still kind of in the Worcestershire or whatever the main initial one you are in. Whatever, Shire Baggins, and that's where I'm still killing people. But I haven't actually played all, other than playing Outcasters on Community Playground last Sunday. I really haven't played very much at all this week, so I need to fix that. So I certainly will. Before we jump into the news of the day, big thank yous to Stadia Vet Gaming saying Stadia Source rocks with that $20 super chat. We appreciate that. And Ray, our favorite gaming cyborg, saying hello to Stadia. He is. Look, I said two things that are accurate. Number one, that he's a cyborg, and number two, that he's our favorite cyborg, because there is only the one. So you can't be mad at me for that, cowboy or otherwise.
All right, fair enough.
So we appreciate both of you, and Tommy giving the shout out to Richie's Tea with the no internet Jurassic Park, all that good stuff. But if you want to see it, you got to tune into the YouTube version of our podcast if you're currently watching it. So thanks to everybody for tuning in. We do appreciate all the folks who are joining us here live, including Joan, who says IFR is so good, and that's just from the demo. Ray Stone with the big thumbs up. Tom saying hi. We miss you, Tom.
Get to bed.
You've been told by your cohort in there as well, and in lead saying hi, and Kumna with the 0 minute countdown, and we appreciate everybody saying hi today. So let's get in and talk about the news of the week. And since a couple of you mentioned it already, let's kick it off with Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh yeah.
So, you guys been enjoying the chiptune soundtrack from Anamanaguchi, one of my favorite bands, which is a very weird band to have as a favorite, but I do. Big fan of theirs. Who all has had an opportunity to play this, and give us your initial thoughts. So Anthony, what have been your initial thoughts on Scott Pilgrim and his quest to bang this one random chick who he could probably find better? But anyways.
So as we know, this game, it was, I guess, pulled 10 years ago, right? So no one could get it for 10 years. And they took 26 years to make Streets of Rage 4, right? Which is probably one of the most iconic beat 'em ups, right? So when I played it, I said, man, this game is cool, but it's always felt like Scott Pilgrim had one up, because you could like jump on people on the ground. You can't do certain stuff like that in Streets of Rage. Streets of Rage, you just played and beat it. That's it. Scott Pilgrim got like a level up system. It keeps people into it. It keeps people coming back. Like when you beat it, you want to play it again. And then I totally forgot about the modes. It got a zombie mode, which is like a horde mode. It got a boss battle mode. It got a dodgeball mode. I'm like, this game. And then another thing with Streets of Rage wasn't, it was 4 players at home, but it was only 2 players online. I'm like, what? Scott Pilgrim is 4 players online. So anyway, with all that extra insight, Scott Pilgrim is awesome. It's still as cool as it was then. I believe this has like everything. It's the deluxe edition or whatever you call it. And man, it's just a fun beat 'em up. I mean, you know, if you like beat 'em ups, and I guess this is what Stadia's only beat 'em up, right? So unless I always call Avengers a beat 'em up, because all I do is beat people up. But yeah, man, Scott Pilgrim, my first impressions, it was cool. I wanted to play it at midnight, and I did. I even did a lunch break stream from my car, and which is awesome, guys. You can do that with Stadia. Yes, I'm sitting in my car on my lunch break on my cell phone. Mind you, I'm playing Scott Pilgrim on a phone and streaming it to YouTube and playing online with Dr. Spaceman and others. It was mind-blowing when you think of all what was going on with Stadia. But yes, Scott Pilgrim, get that thumbs up, guys. It's only $14.99. If you don't have Ubisoft Plus, I still think it's a win. It's the only beat 'em up we got, and it's 4 players. It's awesome, and it's not a game you'll beat and be done. You'll play it over and over to level up and get multiple characters. So
was it couch co-op?
It is couch co-op, and it's 4 players couch co-op also. Yeah.
So get some use out of the freebie controllers that everybody got last year.
Yeah.
Has anybody else jumped into this one yet?
Yeah, obviously we played it right before this very show. We checked that out. Me, Tom, and Richie all jumped in, picked a character each, and basically reminisced back to 10 years ago when we were all much younger. We had a lot less responsibilities, and the music, the art style throughout playing the playthrough. We talked about Edgar Wright's movie and the comics. It just took us back to a wonderful time when. Basically, all we had to worry about was the themes that are throughout the entire game, really. And what a glorious time it was. But in terms of the game, the music, soundtrack's fantastic. The actual beat-up style, there's a few mechanical things that I think me and Richie both found that could be a little bit better. Some of the hitboxes and the people being in the foreground, the background, like most beat-em-up type games. Like if you're not pixel perfect, you're just swinging in the air. And we had a little glitch at the start, didn't we, Richie, where he was in our game, and he was seeing enemies me and Tom couldn't see.
Yeah, I was
so we were ready to
They were just in his imagination.
Oh, we're ready to move on. It's like 3 enemies around me. What do you mean we're ready to move on? It's like
we sat there swinging in absolute empty air, and me and Tom just sat waiting to move on to the next panel and just go on. Go on. So we had to back out and start up, but
my issue was the sound thing. This is what I wrote in you guys' chat, but I don't think you understood what I was saying. My question was to you on your stream was, for me, when I played, I couldn't hear the sounds of me punching. I only heard the music. So I had to actually turn down the music versus the sound effects. Because I couldn't, it was weird. It was like I wasn't hearing any any other contact. But did that happen to you?
I don't know if I was now. I think back to it.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any like actual like.
The music drowns it out. Like you have to turn down the music if you want to hear the contact.
I'm gonna have to jump back into it now when I'm not on stream, because when I'm on stream, I always turn down the audio anyway because I want to be able to talk with Chris and Tom. So it's like stuff like that can just get lost. But now I want to know. It's like,
yeah, I mean the soundtrack. I've listened to the soundtrack of the movie. No, I'm actually pretty sure I've listened to the soundtrack of the game too, because I just put Anime-Gucci on loop, and like it's a fantastic band. If you like chiptune rock, is what it is. So if you're a fan of unless you're just done with this and you want to leave us, no. So if you're a fan of that, you can. So yeah, it's on my playlist radar. I'm waiting. Like I want to get Ubisoft Plus because I want to play Immortals, but I gotta wait until because I have a Valhalla already. I got to finish that. Then I got to play Jedi Fallen Order. Then I got to play Watch Dogs Legion. Then I will finally have time. That's not counting all of the pro games that I've not even touched. So after all of that, then I will have the time to subscribe to Ubisoft Plus, play through Phoenix, play through Scott Pilgrim, unsubscribe unless they've come out with another game I care about. So it's just a whole thing. And quick shout out in the chat to Rock. Happy birthday, Rock. Who is the general rokk.co.uk. And everybody makes fun of me for saying the CO, but it is, you'll hear more of that at the end of the show. But happy birthday, Rock. We're good to see you there. In addition to games that we are looking forward to, such as Scott Pilgrim, terrible segue. Unfortunately, we're not going to get all the games as soon as we wanted because a couple of games have had some delay announcements. Riders Republic being one of the two of those. So Riders Republic is, if I'm actually going to pull up the trailer, which is a thing you'd think I would have already done. It's like a motocross, outdoor sportsy kind of game. Oh, that's loud. I'm going to hit mute on that and then hit share on my screen. But it's very much almost, it looks like it's in the vein of like The Crew 2, where there's kind of just an open world that you're going in and doing all the sporty stuff in. But it's snowboarding, it's mountain biking, it's wingsuit gliding. And all that stuff. But unfortunately, they announced today that it's going to be delayed till later this year. I don't believe that. Did the announcement actually say a specific date?
No date.
Later this year. So thank you, COVID. But look at all those people just dashing into that giant shark thing at Riders Republic. So yeah, I mean, it looks like a super fun game, but February 25th, 2021, it is not. So we'll get it at some point later this year. Has this been on anybody's radar as a game you are now sorely disappointed that we will not be seeing sooner?
I'm kind of like disappointed it's being delayed because I'm kind of looking forward to it. But at the same time, because it's Ubisoft and it should be going to Ubisoft Plus, and because Ubisoft Plus isn't in the UK yet, I didn't want to buy it, so then till Ubisoft Plus comes out. Do you know what I mean? Like, we don't know when Ubisoft Plus is coming for anywhere else other than the US. So I'm happy that it's being delayed and I don't have to wait whilst other people play it in a selfish way.
That's a very wholesome attitude to have on that.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I just, yeah, like it's disappointing because there seems to be quite a lot of games at the moment being delayed.
Charles in the chat with the same feeling. It just gives more time to play other Ubisoft games, I suppose.
Yeah.
So I've kind of got like SSX tricky type vibes from this. Like, so it looks like it could be quite decent in that fact. And I think it has the potential to be one of those games like, do you remember when we all played Supercross 3 for the first time? And it was like, I think it was like Meg Stream during the first Stadia Super Saturday or something like that. And it was like, actually, this game is really, really good. And I think it has the potential, just from what I've seen so far, to be on that kind of level where people underestimate it a little bit. And then it ends up blowing people out of the water. So fingers crossed.
I think it's important there's crossplay, though.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think the angle we're going for seems to be like, obviously, we've seen Steep from Ubisoft, and they've got Trials. It's kind of like, right, as a standalone sports game, it doesn't pull in really the numbers to merit a title. Whereas this, if they have like a live games as a service hub world that we know Ubisoft is so good at, and they can just keep adding like events, different seasonal stuff, cosmetics, and it involves every single sport, I can definitely see them pulling it together and making something quite successful. But for me, it just harks back to, didn't we have this last year when Ubisoft delayed all of their games at the beginning of the year? So we should expect to see Far Cry and Rise of the Republic sandwiched together sometime around the Call of Duty launch and the FIFA launch and everything else, right?
They're all going to come out in November.
Yeah.
Ubisoft releases all the games in November now.
Yeah, it just goes back to that question we had from last year. Like, would they not have been better delaying something like Watch Dogs until this window now?
Yeah.
And then we could have had Watch Dogs in February, Riders Republic later in the year. I think Far Cry is expected about May, June time. So I don't know. They keep kind of stacking the deck a little bit for whether that's detrimental to them or not. It's weird. Their business.
I guess they wanted to release those games though before the next gen consoles came out, so they could be like, "Hey, buy it now and this console, so that you get the update and stuff and blah blah blah." So I can see why they did it, but yeah, it's kind of like no real games generally get released around this period because everyone tries to rush them out before Christmas period.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Rock in the chat actually had a kind of a similar thought. Are they trying to spread the portfolio out a little bit? Because yeah, I mean they put out 300-hour titles or 60-hour titles right back to back to back, and so you kind of would have expect that just in terms of like cash flow. You just want to kind of push things a little bit and spread your year out a little bit more evenly. I think.
One thing we're not thinking about is a lot of games get that negative. People say like games come out now and they're not fully ready, right? So we've seen with Cyberpunk, kind of like they got a little bit of hate for some people feel like it's not ready. So maybe there's some games that because there a lot of games are live service and you just get a day one patch. Maybe companies are seeing that the consumers are really upset by this, right? And so it's kind of like maybe they could have put a game out like, it's a little early, but we'll patch it in the first couple weeks, like Avengers, which was my favorite game. But that's what really happened, right? It came out super buggy, and it took time to be patched and patched and patched. So maybe they're kind of like, hey, listen, companies are getting called out for this now. Especially look at Cyberpunk. I mean, started off as like the end all be all. You can't touch this game, and to having like companies not allowing people to purchase it, that's pretty bad. So maybe some games that's being delayed really wasn't fully ready, but they figure, we could just patch it. That could be a possibility too.
I think the biggest side of that is not necessarily people complaining about the games appearing unfinished or broken, because that's been the narrative for a long time. Mm-hmm. It's the share price of CD Projekt Red that took a massive hit with Cyberpunk's launch, and that's when the directors of Ubisoft are going to go, no, we can't release this now because it'll hurt us in our pockets.
But I mean, ultimately, it's they're going to make whether the game is ready or not. No, let me rephrase that. If the game is ready, they still might choose not to put it out there just because they're going to want to make more money off of it. And if you release it while everybody is still neck deep in other games, they're just not going to sell that many copies. Particularly because this one may not have the same kind of wide appeal or user base that a Cyberpunk would or another Assassin's Creed game would. If you're not a sports fan or whatever else, then you're just not going to go for this game. So they're going to want to like give it a little bit of breathing room, so to speak. But
it's a completely different genre, right, to anything that's been released.
Right.
Like
it looks like it. It's certainly shaping up to. Yeah.
It'd be amazing if it was like an RPG. Like
I leveled up my dirt biker. Yay! I mean, Crew 2 has kind of RPG-ish elements to it, so.
I think the fact that they've left they haven't given us a date as to when it will be coming. So, for all we know, it could be a month later or it could be longer. So we don't actually know when it's going to be released. So I think we can't obviously judge too harshly at the moment, because if the delay is not massive, then I don't think it will be that much of a problem. So
I don't see it being a short delay if they haven't given a date.
No, but then we've had things in the past where
it's delayed. It's released today.
Yeah, we've assumed it's going to be a long delay because they haven't specified, and then it ends up coming out maybe a week or two later. So
I think sometimes it's quite shrewd about it. They don't give the date because they might not know how long it's going to be delayed till. It depends what the issue is. They might fix it quite quickly. It might take them months. So it's better to sometimes play your cards closer to your chest rather than doing again CG Projekt Red. How many delays?
From the software product management perspective, of which is my day job, there have been plenty of We'll let you know as soon as we have more details, announcements that are like emails that I've sent, because I don't know if it's going to be a week or it's going to be 6 months. Like, hopefully nothing that I would ever get is going to take 6 months, but I just don't know. So the fact that they had it, what gets me about this is as you said, that they had a date and then they decided to have no date. So that almost tells me this was not as far along as they thought it was going to be at this point. Like, there's clearly enough there that they can't even say, well, how about April? Well, how about May? Like, yeah. So,
especially with the tax year coming up. Be
Yeah.
interesting when, because Ubisoft obviously public traded, so usually we get loads of big news around March, April time. And keep your eyes
We
peeled.
do.
Keep following their social channels, like with Stadia for our latest. We'll give you the latest updates.
Just listen to the Sounds of Stadia podcast, or the Stadia Social Roundtable podcast, or the Stadia Source Newsfeed podcast, or any of the fine podcasts that cover Stadia news. Speaking of things that have been delayed, not necessarily that the game has been delayed. I think there's some confusion going around on the interwebs about that, but that the announcement, the announcement of the game has been delayed, and that is Elder Scrolls Gates of Oblivion. So back at the Game Awards, they announced that we would be getting a new expansion, the next chapter, to just share, for goodness sake, next chapter in Elder Scrolls Online, which is going to be based on the Gates of Oblivion. So presumably it's the Oblivion stuff from Elder Scrolls 4. And it looks fantastic. It looks super exciting. I loved Oblivion. I played it. What they have said is that they are delaying the reveal of the game. So usually whenever Ubisoft on the brain, whenever ZeniMax has a new chapter, it's the new open world they're already open world. When there's a new chapter for the Elder Scrolls Online, they do a big reveal event and they talk about kind of a roadmap and update number. This is going to have this, and update number. This is going to have this. And so that was originally scheduled for next Thursday, the day after the U.S. inauguration, which is going to be a completely calm and sane event. I am putting that out into the universe. And so assuming that it is a completely calm and sane event, they still wanted to kind of get away from the very heavy news cycle that will be. So they bumped it back a week, basically. So now the reveal event will be the following week. Instead of next week, you got to wait one more week. There will probably be enough news next week that hopefully, So ignore this right here where it says global reveal event January 21st. That is no longer the case.
Is this basically a DLC?
Yes, it's the same as what they did with Greymoor when they went to Skyrim, the Somerset expansion. It is the next major DLC chapter. Of which there will be smaller update. They release their DLC in chunks, so you paid for Greymoor, which was the Skyrim edition, and then you got like update number 1 of Greymoor was the main content area, the new land, the new zone, the major content quest, and then like 2 or 3 more updates that were pushing the story a little bit further and a little bit further. It's the same thing that like Final Fantasy does every time they release a expansion. Shadowbringers had several major patches throughout. They just do it in like planned chunks. So it's like, this is the year of Skyrim, and there were 4 chunks, the initial one that you had to pay for, and then the 3 more. So presumably there will be the year of Oblivion, where there will be the main expansion, and then 3 more.
You'd expect not to follow after the year of Oblivion, wouldn't you? You think that would be the end?
And the servers shut down. Well, Final Fantasy did it. They could totally take a clue. If Oblivion wins, presumably Oblivion won't win, because that would bring it into things. Or if they do, that would be an interesting choice for the game. I don't know. Anybody else care about this? That it was delayed, or is anybody just like the weeping and the gnashing of teeth that you're not going to get to see this reveal a week early, and it's all our fault here in the Americas?
No,
for the right 2/3 of the panel. All right, nobody cares. Moving on. But we will have at least one new game released on the platform, and that is Tohu, which is a kind of a cute little cartoony-ish looking game, like a point-and-click adventure-ish kind of feel to it. from the Irregular Corporation, discover an enchanting world. So yeah, it's definitely got like the iOS point and clicky kind of feel to it. Very papercraft, very cartoon. And we'll get it here in about a week, 2 weeks, week and a half. Math. I can't do math. Anybody looking forward to Touhou?
It kind of reeks of pro game to me.
Yeah. It does.
Yeah.
It reminds me of if you can remember the old PS3 Xbox 360 game. I think it was called Machinima or Machinima.
Machinarium.
Like yeah, whatever that. Yeah, that was the one. Yeah, it's very similar in art style with all like the puzzles and the different levels.
It was originally a Flash game series, I think it was, and then they moved it on. Dan, right up your alley, man.
Yeah.
Did you ever play any of the Rusty Lake or any of the Flash game point and click adventures? No.
No.
Coming soon, 2020. They lied. So Fire Art Games and the Irregular Corporation. It looks cute, and hey, more games. We are in the slow season for game releases because we just got out of the busy season for game releases. So the fact that it's a new game is kind of interesting. I suspect we're going to see more catalog games coming, over the next couple, 2-3 months. But anything that's brand new is kind of interesting to see. I would also put this in the boat of it might have been ready sooner, but they wanted to get out of the way of Cyberpunk and things. So we might see a few more games that kind of fit into that category, like smaller games that just didn't want to have to compete.
Yeah, probably.
Anybody else got any thoughts on Touhou? Not Touhou.
The puzzles look cool. I'll say that. When they showed the shattered mirror and you're trying to piece it together, that looks kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree with Dan. It's kind of, this reeks of pro game. It's probably one. If I get it as a pro game, I'll probably at some point jump in. But,
yeah.
Why does it have to reek? Why can't it be like a nice, pleasant smell of pro game?
okay.
It wafts of pro game.
Nice, sense of Stadia.
The aroma of a pro game.
Yeah, it's got the aroma of pro game. Let's go with that.
It's got the pro-roma.
It has the aroma of a game that I'm going to claim and never play.
I'm going to put it in my Glade plug and play.
Was Sense of Stadia you guys' original name? Sense of Stadia?
It's our new perfume that comes out later this year.
Yes,
Roll that
they're
one for
releasing a
hit
candle line. Yes. All you got to do is get Sounds of Stadia to 10,000, and they will release their homemade candle line called Sense of Stadia. Richie's bedroom. Okay. Fresh Funko Pop. Okay, moving on. Looks cute. It's a pro game to be. It's good. It just is. But that's nice. Slightly larger. We saved the slightly larger news for later because you guys, it's another one of those weeks for news. Lucasfilm Games, to be precise, have announced a reforming relaunch, and in it they are now partnering with Ubisoft. So Lucasfilms has yoinked the Star Wars license from EA. Electronic Arts is no longer going to be exclusively producing Star Wars games, and instead it's going to be Ubisoft. Plus potential others, as their director has indicated. So we're going to get an open world Star Wars game. I would imagine it's Star Wars, so it'll be an open worlds Star Wars game with multiple planets and all that kind of stuff. But maybe Borderlands-y in that regard. But this was kind of big news. EA no longer having access to this, and EA hasn't, for a franchise as large as Star Wars is, to have only really released 3, 4, 5 games in the past few years in that franchise. You would almost be expecting them to be cranking them out at a fairly higher pace.
Well, EA did, if memory serves, did pull quite a few games that they had planned. There's a couple, like an Amy Hennig game got cancelled, so there was stuff in the works that never made it out. But before going, it's worth noting that I think this isn't Lucasfilm Games pulling the license. It's the end of the exclusivity in about a year and a half. And it just looks like Disney are just consolidating the license into Lucasfilm Games and going, looks like we're going to offer out the license on a case-by-case basis, which personally I think is fantastic for the IP.
Yep.
Yeah, they didn't renew the exclusivity. Basically.
Yeah.
Which I think
Assassin's Creed, but it's in a galaxy far, far away and a long time ago. I'll take it. I love Star Wars, and I love Ubisoft. They're I don't know if maybe it was different in years gone by, but at least in the past couple of years, Ubisoft really can't do wrong. Like, there haven't been very many games in the past few years that Ubisoft has published that you're just like, I can't immediately think of any right now. I'm sure there have to be, and somebody who has a bigger understanding of Ubisoft, let me know. But they're on kind of a roll right now.
Interesting. Yeah. Also, it's being head up by the director of the Division 2 and the Crew 2.
Yeah.
What if it's like a political thriller action Division 2 style, but set in like the Republic, and you're like it's after the fall, and you're one of the Jedi, or you're one of the like the rebels, and but it's like Division 2-y kind of thing.
That's what I'm hoping
Division
for.
Tatooine.
Yeah, I'm hoping for that kind of like gritty, like probably third person shooter Star Wars game.
Now here's the cool thing, right? So I feel like second to Rockstar, they do an amazingly good job with third persons. I'm a big third person fan. I even said, hey, if Cyberpunk had a third person mode, I may give it a chance. But so imagine like all of what Avery is saying, but then we got to think they also did Immortal Phoenix Rising. So, Star Wars is good with creatures and monsters. Not saying it would have that art style, but just the fantasy. You could see Ubisoft is the company that should be able to pull a really good Star Wars game together. Definitely.
Yeah, it's just going to be Death Stranding where you carried Baby Yoda around all day. The
open world Mandalorian game.
That's the great thing, right? With the license being kind of like on a case by case, it's open to everyone. We should be able to expect Star Wars games like every other year now. That'll vary from, you get your little indie games where, I don't know, you play as Watto and you have to try and get all the scrap around Mos Eisley and get it all together, little Watto, yeah. And then on the flip side of that, you've got your massive AAA ones that can be like massive open worlds done by Ubisoft. But back to what Dom was saying about it being massive entertainment who made the Division. I immediately defaulted to, you have a kind of a squad of bounty hunters, and you just basically patrol the streets of Coruscant, similar to like that 1313 game, with a fire squad of 3 or 4 your friends, and you get a bounty and you hunt people down, you clear the streets, you hunt random aliens down. And it would fit in with the Division style, but then on the flip side, I'd imagine Ubisoft maybe want to break the mold a little bit and get away from what the Division team were expected, and might kind of like subvert expectations a little bit.
What if you're like a rebel special forces trying to take down the Empire?
Yeah, anything like that.
So what if it was the Crew 2, but Star Wars? So you're doing pod racing, you're doing AT-AT or AT-AT driving, you're doing starfighters, obviously, you're doing warp jumping.
Okay, so here's the question:
pod racing.
Would this game be single player, or will this game be multiplayer? That's the thing. What would your preference be?
Multiplayer.
If it's open world, then multiplayer.
So we have Division works with both.
I think it should be a game that you can play on your own, but equally at any time, if you have a friend who wants to jump in, they can jump in. I think
that should be true for most, like in terms of games of this scale anyway. Like it almost, to me, should be a standard that you can play multiplayer if you want to, but it's also single player as well. Because that's one of the big reasons why I haven't played as much Cyberpunk as what I want to, is because I prefer to play games like Destiny and Borderlands with other people, just because it's more fun. So I know that it's coming at some point, although I don't think it's, the multiplayer for Cyberpunk, I don't know if it's going to be story campaign or just like deathmatch or something like that. I've not really looked too much into it, but I don't know if something like this doesn't have it, or at least the option to, because I just want to be able to have the choice, if you know what I mean, to make that decision for myself, rather than being forced to just play it single player or just play it multiplayer.
I'd love if it was another MMO or something. That'd be my wet dream, I think, if it was an MMO.
For me,
that's another Center Stadia right there.
The New Republic
MMO.
No, I just caught that. No. Moving on. No.
Just take a Star Wars skin over the Division 2, and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
It's similar to what Avery said about Valhalla and the variety of like characters as well. I would love to see a game where, like, Star Wars, the universe is so rich because of the variety of like different species and stuff we see in it. I would love a game, whether it's Division or open world, anything like that, that we just get to explore and we get to learn about these individuals and see how the Empire or whatever it may be is impacting their local area and what weird side quests they could possibly send you on to get Republic credits or whatever it may be for someone. But yeah, the breadth of creativity they have is going to be unbelievable, and people are going to buy it regardless because it's Star Wars.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
It'll sell. You know. Now it's how loot boxy do they get with it will be the question there.
Just don't. Just leave them out.
Nobody needs that in their life. Just well, one last thing to mention, or no, two last things to mention. I'm actually going to switch this around just slightly, and we didn't have a banner for it, so I'm going to type one. Hitman 3 state share. There we go. All right, so Hitman 3's state share live podcast, people, live podcast. Hitman 3's implementation of state share has been detailed just a little bit more in an article on GameSpot. It is going to be closer to, so, you know, we've had state share. I'm using finger quotes for those of you who are listening to the audio in Crata, but that's not what they told us was coming on the big stage with the white room and bald man. So what they have mentioned is that it's going to be more like you can challenge, oh, hey, can you get this kill faster than I did? Here's where I was in the game. Here's my state. You give it a try and go from there. And we know that is being launched first with Hitman 3 coming out later this month, and so that is we got a little bit of a view of some of the details here. Play this custom game state. This game state is a playable slice of the game that's based on the original player's own gameplay conditions. So it almost sounds like it might necessarily be the full, like, it's not that you're starting the game from that moment, but that you are going to play this mission using their state.
It depends on the game, I think, because, for example, with Hitman, it will be the mission that you've shared. They will basically start the mission with all the same weapons, all the same loadouts as what you have.
Like, start from the beginning of the mission. So if they did a clip halfway through, would they start halfway through from where you are?
I think with the Hitman, if you take the state share at the end of the level, it will basically make them play the whole level in the state share, if that makes sense. So you have to do it at the end, and I think there's like leaderboards and stuff at the very end to compare how well you did against the person who shared the state, and obviously everybody who's played the state since then as well. But for different games, it would be different. So, for example, if it's user generated games like Minecraft, for example, if that was to come to Stadia, you could obviously share your world. It might be just a portion of a level, so it might be, obviously, if it's not a game that's built around missions, for example, then you can just take snippets of certain parts of the game and send that. But one of the things that I noticed from the article, which I found really, really interesting as well, was that, like, for example, Cyberpunk, if you take that game, it's quite story driven, and the decisions that you make in the game affect the outcome of your game. So although all 6 of us could play the game here now, we would all have a different experience in the long run, because we would choose different things, different characters, and different choices in the game. So for me to do a state share would also allow you to potentially experience the game in a way that you wouldn't normally get to experience yourself. It might be that I've unlocked a weapon, for example, that you don't, and by playing this state share, you get to use that weapon for a little bit, whereas otherwise you probably might not have unlocked it yourself, especially if it's quite a hard one to get. And obviously, anything that you do in a state share doesn't actually affect your main game, so you can play as many different states as you want and then jump right back into where you left off on your own save as well. But that also works the other way around, because if you unlock something in a state share version, then you obviously can't take that back to your normal game as well. So, if you get an awesome score on a level or something, it stays within that state, not in your actual game, so you can't take the benefits of it back with you.
Yeah, it looks like from some of the screenshots that they provided, these are going to live in the same place as your captures do, which kind of also partially explains why the capture system is kind of trash. Let's just be honest. If you save a screenshot, all you want is to just pull the PNG down. That's the whole point of a screenshot. But Stadia is like, no, it's a link. Like, no, just right click, say PNG. That's all I've ever wanted to do on screenshots. And
we do have a tool for that on Stadia Source, which I've not actually shouted about.
Hey, we have a tool for that on Stadia Source.
Yeah, if you go to stadiasource.com/captures, there is actually a tool you can download pictures and videos just by using the share link as well. And I think the Stadia Life also did one as well, but they've actually told people about theirs, whereas I didn't tell anybody. It's been there for a while and nobody's even noticed.
We might need to just
either
add
or.
a segment. We need to add a recurring segment to this podcast, which is what's new on StadiaSource.com that Dan hasn't told us about. Like that's the whole title.
Oh, achievement.
Maybe I'll make like a little
achievement tracking's also kind of there as well.
What's new on Stadia Source that Dan hasn't told us about, and then just play that.
Make the jingle, I'll make it happen.
Yes.
But yeah, one of the things that concerned me about the state share thing was that it looks like, because it says the way that you share a state is to just take a capture of a video or an image. So does that mean that every single time I take a capture or an image, if I take it at a place that's state share enabled, is that also then going to allow just anybody to potentially play? You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm going to have to share the state in the first place because I don't believe we can view each other's captures unless we share them specifically. But maybe that might be a good thing, because at least then you might take a capture without realizing it and think, oh, it's just a funny moment. And then later down the line think, oh, actually, I'd love for people to be able to play that, not just watch the video of it, if you know what I mean. So swings and roundabouts, I guess.
Might be a toggle system for individual captures. Toggle this on and off. So even if people have the link, you could just toggle it off if you wanted to.
Yeah, it's knowing when to capture and when, you know what I mean, what it's going to produce in the end, because I don't know. I think my version of what I thought it was going to be in my head when we saw the announcement for it in the very beginning is a little bit different to what we've been told it's going to be this time. It's not necessarily better or worse, it's just different. And I was always under the impression that you would have more control over what it was, you know what I mean, you were sharing, not just hitting the button and then it was doing it for you. It would be one of those things where you set it up specifically. These are the lives that the player has. These are, you know what I mean, the guns and stuff that they have. And then you share it. But
yeah, I got that impression as well. Sorry, Dom.
I was going to say, to me, it was kind of like I'm at this point in the level, I'm going to hit state share now, and anyone can jump in from this exact point of where I am. So it could be you're doing Hitman, you're in a mission, and you screwed yourself, and you're in a room. There's guards walking all around. You're like, how am I going to get out of this? And then you state share from there.
Someone just go off.
We're gonna move right along. I wasn't paying attention. Who are you people again?
Anyway, moving on.
I'm going to bump one of these. Any other thoughts on state share? It's exciting to see this. There are really only two things left. There's state share and the assistant. Those are the only two things from the original mega set. Dom, it's going to be okay. I promise you. There's the only two things from the original mega set that are still listed. I'm going to have to listen back to our own podcast because I don't know what happened to Broke because I literally was not paying attention. So, anywho, so I'm going to move one of these items down to the hot topic. So you can check out all the latest news and headlines at StadiaSource.com, your number one source for Stadia news and reviews. Folks, Dom, you ready?
I'm ready. Ready.
I kind of feel like I'm on drugs when I'm with you. Not that I do drugs, unless you do drugs. Then I do drugs all the time. Every drug, including the hot topic.
That
don't take drugs, kids.
Yes. I don't actually. It's a quote. Anybody want to take a guess where that quote is from?
Is it from Scott Pilgrim?
It is from Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Nice.
Which is very much the kind of movie that they would have merchandise for at Hot Topic. See, I brought it all back together. That is how that works. So we got a big announcement out of CES this week that the first not Chromecast to carry Stadia at least the first announced, not Chromecast to carry Stadia, is going to be the new line of LG TVs. In fact, it's going to be the new line, and it's going to date back to their 2020 models as well, with built-in support for Stadia on WebOS. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with WebOS, if it's like a kernel off of Android or something, but it's basically going to have a native Stadia app built right in, so that you don't have to have a Chromecast to play Stadia on your TV. They're also going to be getting a GeForce Now app, but we don't care that much about that. No word about Luna, so haha Luna. But going to have that Stadia app. So the hot topic for tonight, again, we're in a low news state, you guys, so I was stretching for this one. The hot topic for tonight is more about Stadia growth and partnerships, and what do we expect to see this year? What would we like to see this year as Stadia continues to grow and expand their partnerships with other organizations, other companies to bring in more Stadia features? So because I don't want to go first on this, I'm going to toss this to our guests, Chris and Richie, with kind of reformatting this as a question. What do you? We'll start with. What are you expecting in 2021 in terms of partnerships that Stadia is likely to form? More places that we are likely to see Stadia.
I'll let Richie take this one.
Yeah, I had a feeling he was going to do that. It's hard to say because I think I personally don't care at all about smart TV technology. I think it's some of the most redundant technology that you can get out there. I would rather just developers spend the money on a good display rather than cramming Netflix and Hulu and Stadia into there when I've got multiple Chromecasts all over my house. I have a Chromecast Ultra in a box doing nothing because Stadia give me one for free for buying Cyberpunk. So I don't need it.
Boxes right there that I'm never going to use. So
yeah. And for those who already have an LG TV, now, oh, cool, there's a Stadia app turned up suddenly, and I don't have a controller to connect to it unless you're already in the ecosystem. So I don't know. I don't see how. Maybe it might get people interested and might go buy a controller, but I'm not really sure what I'd want from partnerships because they're pretty much everywhere already. Like, I think iOS was the last big one to crack, really, for me.
So, I mean, the thing is, it's actually kind of a thought on that is that they are also getting GeForce Now means they must have support for Bluetooth controllers because
smart TVs are, right?
Yeah.
Like they all come with Bluetooth 2.0 or something like that built into them. So that would be your quick fix there. Is any again, it goes back to that Stadia kind of methodology that if you've got an old controller line around, as long as it's got basic Bluetooth, you should be able to hook it up to your TV.
Yeah, I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, I mean, Bluetooth's in like everything nowadays, right?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be a case of you've just bought your shiny new TV, there's the Stadia app, you boot it up and it says, got an old controller, pair it with Bluetooth, and then you're away.
Well, there you go. You completely convinced me. Like, yeah, now if you just buy a new TV stuck in, and you've got like an old PlayStation, Xbox sat there, and you go, oh, what's the Stadia thing about? I've got a controller. Oh, I can connect that to my TV. Then yeah, that's then suddenly is opening up it to the market a bit more. So
it's that whole thing of just getting it in people's hands, right? Like,
yeah.
You jump onto the still. What's Stadia? Jump on. Oh, I can try it for a month for free. Okay, cool. Oh, look, I've got 30 games or something. Oh, let me go dig out my PS4 controller, my Xbox controller. Let's pair it up. Let's play. Oh, this is actually quite good. Oh, I might want to buy one of the controllers. Oh, I might want to buy some games, and it just snowballs, right?
Especially as next generation games come that aren't compatible with PS4 or Xbox One, then suddenly, I can play Cyberpunk here, and it actually works.
Yeah. And I can play it on my phone, or I can play it on my laptop at the same afterwards. I'm in this ecosystem that allows me to play wherever.
Yeah.
One of the things that I thought about this, and I don't know whether this will happen, but it certainly has the potential to happen, is that like a lot of people don't actually know that some of the issues that they might face with Stadia is down to the fact that, in the Google Home app, you can obviously toggle things like what hertz your TV runs at, whether it's 50, 60 hertz, whether there's game mode enabled on your TV. there's all these little kind of hidden settings that may just tweak it a little bit to give you a better experience. Now, if your TV has got Stadia built into it, there's every possibility that then as soon as you switch to the Stadia app, it could tweak the TV settings to optimize for Stadia so that you haven't got to do it manually, because again, not a lot of people know about these little settings. So yeah, hopefully the Stadia app will be able to integrate with the TV in order to give you the best, quality experience when you're playing on those TVs. So
you'd think so, because anyway, a lot of modern TVs these days already know as soon as you're playing a game. Like my TV, for instance, isn't a, like high range or anything. It's just a 4K Philips TV. But as soon as I use my PS4 Switch or I play Stadia, it switches automatically to game mode HDR, and it does it by itself. I don't need to do that. So you're assuming that any like TVs built this year coming out will have that already built in. And you think they'd be thinking about that, right? Like when they're making the app, that it's integrated with all that. It's integrated with the TVs, like operating system and stuff. So
I've just thought of actually a good partnership that Stadia should do. Better partnership with Google.
Richie, expand on your thoughts there.
Well, have you ever connected do a factory reset of your Stadia controller and had to reconnect it to your Wi-Fi, and you have to find out your Wi-Fi password and spend ages typing it through, and it's a bit of a pain? Every other Google device can pull straight off the Wi-Fi access straight off your phone. And it makes it much, much easier. Because I've just got a Google Wi-Fi mesh set up in my house. So every single Wi-Fi device in my house, I reset up. All the Google stuff, apart from the Stadia controllers, the Chromecast were fine. I could just go, click, done.
Yeah. I've got a killer question as well. Do we all think these LG TVs, you'll be able to play Stadia with the TV remote?
Turn it sideways like a switch, kind of thing.
Like if a lot of the new LG ones have like a magic remote.
Where they have like a Wii remote.
So if I'm sat there, I could quite easily just play something like a point-and-click adventure game, Telltale game, where it's just move left, move right, choose your answer.
Can you imagine using one of them to use the touch screen, like on the touchpad things, controls with one of them sticks? That'd be just
chill back on the couch and just point. There you go. Work your way through.
Maybe they could put a gyro in it. You could play things like Just Dance as well.
Exactly.
Could just bundle a Stadia controller in.
So and a quick update here. Thanks, Rock, for spurring on the look at this. Apparently, the GeForce Now portion of this has been retracted.
Yeah.
So they are not. LG initially told. So here's what happened, you guys. It's the same thing with like Apex Legends coming to Stadia and all that stuff. All the initial announcements that came out for this for 3 days were GeForce Now is going to be a part of this. And then now LG is telling folks there is no current plan to launch GeForce Now. So, and when you look at the press release on LG's newsroom website, which I will share right here, LG Smart TVs to get Stadia Cloud Gaming, it is just Stadia and nothing else on there. So I'm thinking what is happening here is they're going to get GeForce Now support, but Stadia put down a bigger check.
The article that I read said that Stadia was getting it like April to June time, and then GeForce Now is coming later on in the year.
Maybe GeForce Now didn't ask for permission, just went ahead and
all the publishers said, no, you can't. And they had to pull it again.
Yeah,
we allowed you to test it, but you can't keep it.
Yeah, the January 11th press release says will be coming to its latest WebOS smart TVs in the second half of this year. After Stadia comes to Google TV, LG will be the first TV manufacturer to natively support Stadia gameplay via WebOS. You can almost kind of hedge that a little bit too, to say that like the other folks who announced Google, several folks announced TVs with the Google TV overlay on Android TV. And we know that the Chromecast with Google TV is getting Stadia at some point in the first half of this year. So LG, the only people that produce WebOS TVs, I think, are going to have the first Stadia gameplay native support on WebOS, which again, I don't think Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but
Just
yeah, I
off the
mean,
back of that, Avery, just before we move on, there was an interesting bit. If anyone saw the Samsung Unpacked event that came out later on with the new Galaxy range that came out, there was a lot of conversation in there saying Google are basically becoming fully more ingrained in the Samsung ecosystem as well. So there's a relationship where for their face video timing, they're using Google Duo, which is their FaceTime equivalent, and more of the ecosystem for their interface is now using Google built into it. So I'm curious whether that conversation, that relationship's going that way now, if that works for Samsung televisions as well, because they're another like massive player in the market.
That was today, wasn't it? The Unpacked event. Was there any mention of xCloud? Interested, like having
they did a partnership with like Game Pass. Just they did the whole like show the controller and like the claw setup.
Because they did that for the Note last year, didn't they?
They did, yeah. They didn't really go too much in depth. It was just more of a case of this is still a thing. You still get it. It's the best place to play cloud gaming with Samsung. And then, they moved on. But, there was a lot of mention of Google, where I know Samsung are usually quite keen on keeping it with their own. We've all heard of Bixby before, right?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Exactly. So I can see them leaning more towards Google in this partnership. So I'd be really interested to see how that unfurls into their television brand as well.
Yeah, and they're probably the largest for smart TVs. Above at least in America, we've got Vizio, which is Walmart's brand actually, and or TCL is one of the other is Walmart's brand, and then TCL are the two kind of when you want a 4K TV for under $400, that's who you're going for, and they both. They have Android TV models. They have smart TV models, but they're not really gamer centric with so the thing is the game, number one, it's going to have to be 4K. You're not going to find this on any TV that isn't. Number two, probably going to have to be one of those 120 hertz refresh rate kind of TV, because you could do it on a 60 hertz TV, but then that's not made for games. It's going to be TVs that have the AMD FreeSync and all of that kind of technology in it. So you're really starting to get into this $700, $800, $900 Samsung, LG, higher, back of the store at Best Buy as opposed to front of the store at Best Buy kind of purchases.
Right. One thing I'll say about the TV, because Richie was saying that maybe at first you were saying that you don't care too much about that. I go the different way. I literally said to my friend today, I was playing Scott Pilgrim, and he was saying how it did, for whatever reason, didn't come out on PlayStation. It was this morning. He was like, hey, is it there? And I said, oh, I bought it on Stadia. He said, oh, I'm looking on PlayStation Store. It's still not there. I keep refreshing. I said, oh, no. I said, well, dude, just download it or just get it on Stadia. And he said, oh, I'd rather play it on my TV. People just don't think that. No, he said, I don't want to play it on my phone. So people just don't think. I said, dude, you could play Stadia on your TV, but people, because you need the controller and you need to have like you said, Richie, oh, I got a Chromecast Ultra, but some people don't. So people just think Stadia isn't meant for TV. It's only on the go. But if it start coming in TVs, then it will be known that, no, you can play Stadia on your TV. So I think that's a big thing,
That's why when people mentioned the Bluetooth controller, that I completely forgot. I was like, oh yeah, if that's with the smart TV technology, if you got there, you got a controller, I'm straight in.
There you go. Yeah.
Go.
No, I just wanted to say, to answer Avery's question, I would like to see Stadia, Google work with retail stores, right? I would love to walk into Best Buy and there'd be a display, right? And it's just a controller that you could touch. I mean, obviously, once we get out of COVID, but there's a controller you could touch, and there's nothing, right? Usually there's a system, and you say oh, there's a Nintendo, there's a PlayStation, there's an Xbox, and there's a Stadia controller. And what is this thing hooked to? It's just a TV. Oh, it comes from the cloud, and people could play the display. I would like a visual. Seeing is believing, and if people could see it more, then I think they believe in it more. Quick story, my friend who was talking about he just didn't believe it. Well, we did a wedding together, and I'm sitting there playing it behind the DJ booth with my phone, and he looks over, and I did it on purpose. I didn't say anything. I just slickly pull out my phone and my controller, and I'm playing Avengers, and he was like, what? I was like, dude, I done told you about Stadia a billion times. But he was like, I know, but you're playing it. I'm like, I made a million videos, but when people see this stuff, they're like, oh, so I would love to see them put up displays in retail stores.
Just
Dan,
one.
Dom
just quickly.
Dom person.
Just say, I agree with Anthony. Like they need to get in retail stores. However, especially in the UK, those retail stores have notoriously awful internet. So getting a stable Stadia connection is super important, because it'll be awful, obviously, if you walk in and then you're playing it and it's just like pixelated mess and it's just like, this is terrible. But also, I wonder if Microsoft have a deal with Samsung to get the app first on Samsung TVs for xCloud. So no, it is coming to Samsung TVs. They've announced that. Whether that's why we haven't seen a partnership with Stadia yet.
All about who cuts the largest check at the end of the day. So
that's it. Yeah, Dan,
what's your crazy idea for ways that Stadia could integrate and partnership here in the next little bit?
So this is completely like out there, far fetched. It might never happen. It's just something I've
Stadia
noticed
on
today.
Your Apple Watch. Just
you're actually not that far off, to be fair, because I don't know if you noticed who purchased Fitbit today or recently.
Yeah,
Google. So is there some sort of, my phone's just lit up, it thinks I'm talking to it, shut up. Is there some sort of like collaboration that they could do in which you could take some aspects of your game out with you with a Fitbit, similar to how like Pokemon Go does with you walking to earn in-game rewards? I mean, it would obviously be dependent on the game itself, but potentially the more steps you do on your Fitbit could then talk to your Google account, which could then talk to your Stadia game, and hey, you've just earned some coins for Assassin's Creed Valhalla or something. So
you're basically saying we're getting Just Dance Fitbit.
Yeah.
It would be
just Pokemon Go on Stadia.
Whilst I think that'd be a lovely idea, I think they solely bought Fitbit because Wear OS is
absolute trap
compared to WatchOS. And
hence
maybe
the reason I jumped ship.
Yeah. Maybe you will be able to play Stadia on your watch at some point.
If I could figure out how to mirror my, I mean the resolution's pretty good. It might not be impossible. You can
how you hold the controller and look at your watch at the same time. But
wasn't there that guy playing Doom on a pregnancy test? So
yep.
Well, it's your stuff, Dan.
Doom internal at that point. No.
Right, that's the face one.
Oh, there we go. I finally had a good hot topic intro, but we couldn't have left it without. So what? Just in the last few minutes we're going to take on this. Other thoughts for interesting partnerships or things that Stadia should be doing to get themselves in more hands this year.
It's got to be games, right? It's got to be all these relationships they've had for so long. They need to start showcasing it. So the biggest studios like Warner Brothers and such, we need to start hearing things. It's all well and good having one game on the platform. I think with the 400 games we've been told, we've got to start a year and a half in. We need to start seeing the fruits of the labor, right? And all these great deals they've supposedly got. We can't just wait for these stealth drops all the time. We've all wanted a roadmap from day one, and here we are, heading into essentially year 3 now, 2021, and we're still yet to get any concrete roadmap. And I know that's not the style, but they can't have a secret deal with Activision lined up and not talk about it until the day it drops on the platform. These partnerships need to be out in the open. That's how marketing works, right? You talk about it, you market, you share it.
But we do know that is exactly what they're going to do. As came out in that Escapist interview, Stadia's whole marketing plan has shifted to, you'll know about it when you know about it. Good luck, buddy. Like, that's been their whole move. I also don't agree that I'm torn about it, because on the one hand, I can kind of see the beauty of it's part of Google's ethos. Like, Drive just gets better. YouTube, they just add more stuff. Only at Google I/O do they really talk about what's next, and that's almost exclusively limited to what's coming in Android, because developers have to develop for it, and there's a whole lot more of them than there are game developers. And what's coming in Chrome, because again, everybody has to prep for it on the web. But like, you don't find out about new features hitting YouTube Music until they are coming. Like, that's just the Google way.
I agree. Like, with background features of Stadia, I think it's completely different to games, because it's like Stadia isn't anything like Google has already, right? Like a new feature on a Drive or Gmail isn't like a new game coming. Like it's not. I don't think it's comparable. I think like a feature like I don't know, like YouTube streaming or something could be something that if they just roll out whenever, or when they bump up. When they put new blade, or they've upgraded, because they've said they're not doing like whole new blades, aren't they? They're upgrading part by part basically the whole time.
Yeah.
So like, there's new RAM, whatever. I don't know, whatever. They're not. Then they might talk about it. Whereas I think Chris is right. Like they need to do some like game announcements, because what do they say? 400 games or something, right? And if we have like a slow January and February, can you imagine the amount of games we'll be getting every month, because they'll be trying to if they want to hit that target by the end of the year or something. Like it's just going to be a snowball of games.
400 games are currently on the roadmap, and they're planning into 2023. So it is not 400 games this year. It is we will have more than 500 games over the course of the first 3 years of Stadia's life.
So say there's only 200 this year though. There's still a lot of games every month. And the longer we don't have anything like substantial, the quicker you see what I mean? It's just going to snowball in my head.
The big difference is just going to be like costing, like features, updates, and stuff in a search bar, a goddamn search bar. They're all just like iteratively free things. But let's face it, like people drop £60, $60, whatever it is, on these things. Like as a consumer, I would like to know if I need to save some money away, I need to put some money aside. Like we're probably all fortunate enough to have all these Chromecasts and Stadia thing, but a lot of the market, their target demographic is the lowest barrier to entry, which is the cheapest barrier to entry. And not telling people when they need to spend the money is a bad move, in my opinion. If I need to know to watch myself for spending £60 on this game, £20, and then my pro subscription, I need to know what date is coming up. I can't just be sat all of a sudden, it comes out today. Great, I don't get paid till the end of the month.
Plus, whether it even comes out on Stadia at all, because you might decide to buy it on another platform.
Yeah, but wouldn't you already? So here's the thing, right? Let's say if we're talking about AAA titles, right? So wouldn't you already know this AAA title is coming out? Like, it's coming out for this other stuff. So you would have an idea that it's coming out. You just wouldn't know if it's going to come out for Stadia or not, right? So you would still, from
Stadia's point of view, is it? Look at SpongeBob and Destroy All Humans. Everyone, let's face it, if they wanted to play that, they bought it on their other console. They weren't going to wait if they wanted it. But I get where you're coming from. But I just feel as consumers, we deserve to know when shit's coming out. is that hard to ask?
Cyberpunk's another one. It was only late game that we found out that was going to be day and date with Stadia over platforms. You could have already pre-ordered it on another platform.
No, Marvel
their own sales for just
Marvel Avengers and Doom was both day and date also.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But those we knew to expect that they would be, and it was never not in the cards that Watch Dogs, Valhalla, that those were not going to be day and date. So we knew on this. We know on some, but we don't know on others.
FIFA.
I think it's going to get better. I think it's. Yeah, well, I think it's going to get better, but and maybe this year will be the year it gets better, because all of these studios will have a better understanding. Number one, they'll have a better understanding of how long it takes to just simply do it. But number two, it's not them some of the time, as we found QLock, and there was another one I saw on Twitter that was like, we just finished the port of whatever, heaven forbid, somebody in the chat, if you can think of another dev doing Stadia ports, so it's not even an Ubisoft bringing a catalog game or an EA bringing a catalog game. It's a whole nother company. And if their whole thing is porting games and being the best company to port games, you better believe that QLock had Stadia engineers in the building. There was no way they were not getting Cyberpunk right. And now that is a company whose entire thing is porting games to other platforms. If they are now in charge of, for CD Projekt Red, they've got a relationship, they've got the tool set, and they're going to be the ones to get The Witcher on Stadia. They've got the knowledge base, and the more often that happens, the more those systems, or the more often those studios do it, the more they're going to be able to say, yep, day and date, it's going to land with the same other ones. We're getting to the point where that's not a good excuse anymore, but I don't know that we're there just
well
yet.
And so to Avery's point, I this is what I like to say. Stadia is still new, right? So let's just call it for what it was. You want to know, right? Well, look at good stuff, right? Good stuff They hyped it up, and I feel like after that, it was like, ooh, we kind of got burned. It was their own fault. But I feel like we're so young. Yeah, there's going to be some people complaining that they don't have day and date. I say take another stealth drop this year, right? As you get bigger, you get better. You get, if you're going to, let's say right now, right, you got the game we just talked about. They said, oh, we're pulling it back. We don't even have a date. So now people on Stadia is like, well, kind of like, you know what? Get everything else together, firm, right? And I mean, no, games is what drives this thing, right? We're all here because of games, but this is still a new platform, a new infrastructure. So get that solid, right, for another year. And then let's talk about in year 3, like, all right, we need day and date for everything. We need to know everything, right? But I feel like they could take another. I mean, for me, they could stealth drop anything this year, and I'm, for me.
I think personally for me, when it comes to features, because features tend to be the thing that sets your platform apart from other things. Like if every platform had the same games, it wouldn't matter which platform you played it on.
Right.
So by all means, stealth drop the features, because that then prevents your competition potentially from finding out about it before you release it and potentially doing some sort of, ripping it off or making a similar,
But if that was the
games,
case,
we definitely need to know.
If that was the case, they wouldn't have stood up on that stage a year and a half before any of these features were ready and talked about them.
Maybe they didn't. Maybe they were just naive and didn't think about that.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I don't know that there are any features. There's nothing left. Like, I know that supposedly there is, because John Justice seems to be saying we've still got things we're working on and tricks up our sleeve, but I don't know how any of that isn't. I guess that's the glory of the cloud. I can't picture in my head, but I wouldn't have been able to picture in my head 2 years ago the concept of state share, that you could just randomly share a 30-second clip of your game and tell somebody else they can play exactly where you were. Like, yeah, I've been a dude who's done emulators and ROMs forever, so I totally know what a state is. Like, I get that, but that's not a thing you don't email somebody your cracked Final Fantasy V Japan edition English translation ROM state and say, hey, play from this battle. Like, that's just not a thing. So maybe they do have crazy things in the works that we can't even picture right now, but there's not much left. Like, it's literally just state share and assistant, and they've already got state share coming, and we already know assistant's coming.
I think a lot of those things might happen when we first see games that really take power of like cloud only games, when we see first party games, that's when we will see like the true features of Stadia and why this platform can only do this. And that's an exciting time. I just wish it wasn't like 2 or 3 years away.
I genuinely think they got burnt by saying all this stuff up front, and then like a year into the game, the platform being available, we still didn't have some of these features. But I think they've learned from the past to not say up front that this is a feature that's coming out, because then in a year's time when it's still not come out and everybody's like, that's all they can talk about. You know what I mean?
Go on, so just quickly, I think two things. One, that was at GDC. So again, that was for developers. People keep forgetting that, and people keep going, oh, I'm a consumer. Why is this feature not here? But that whole thing was for developers. And yeah, it is a little bit of PR and like, oh, this is Stadia. And now ostensibly Google I/O is for developers, but that doesn't stop them from announcing all the amazing cool new toys that they're coming out with. So I don't know.
They talk about it all the time on public channels. So
yeah, I can't buy that one. But I will say PlayStation didn't talk about the crazy haptic stuff they're doing with the DualSense triggers until they announced the console and the controller. So it wasn't, and it was, you're getting this when the thing launches. So I kind of get Dan's point of like, take away all the frilly stuff. It's kind of cool. Stadia just works, and you can click and play top tier games in your browser, and that just happens. And if that landed and it was amazing and it worked perfectly, and then 4 months later they were like, by the way, we just invented this thing called Stream Connect. It launched with Tom Clancy's Breakpoint, and now you can see people be like, oh, that's kind of crazy. That worked really well. And then like 3 months later, hey, by the way, did you know we have this thing called State Share with Crata? You can just have a link and play any game you want. And like, if they did it like that, I think it might have been as effective or possibly more effective, and it would have bought them more news cycles.
I agree.
One of the biggest things that I find is that when I'm trying to sell someone on Stadia, it's like they will say, well, does it have such a game? No. Is it going to get such a game? I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Are we at least going to get the next iteration of that game? So, for example, Call of Duty or something? I don't know. And because I don't know, it's almost like them just say, they might as well say, well, I'm not interested then. You know what I mean?
I think for catalog games, there's no reason for them to not say it. If we know we're getting Apex Legends, just say it. Like, it's been out for a while. It's not going to surprise. There's not a day and date situation there. If we know we're going to get flipping Call of Duty, just say we're going to get it. Even if we're not going to get it till next year or 2 years or whatever, there's no reason not to say it. If the contract is signed, money has changed hands, like, just say it. There's a degree to which if a day and date title is not ready, they don't want to put their stamp on it just yet. And that I can understand. But a catalog game, there's no reason not to tell us that we're going to get, there's no reason for Square not to tell us we're going to get the remastered versions of the Final Fantasy games or whatever.
So
like,
what do you think about Capcom and Resident Evil? Because it was leaked that Google paid money to have it, but Google have yet to say on record that the Resident Evil is coming.
We might find out here by the end of the month. They're doing Resident Evil specific event, so we might find out soon if there's a Stadia logo at the end of that thing. But again, even then, it's a future game, so there's no guarantee that 7 is not, but 8, there's no guarantee that they're going to land the plane. You know, it might still be in the air when the rest of the game gets released. So we'll find out next week, I suppose. I think it's next week after. Time doesn't work properly anymore. It's whenever they're having their Resident Evil Day. So, any final thoughts on this particular topic? I'm surprised we got as much time out of this topic as we did, you guys. Kudos to all of you.
Good content, though.
Well, you can get involved in the discussion, and we appreciate everybody dropping their comments in the chat on this as well. You can get involved in this discussion. Head over to stadiasource.com. Comment on any one of these articles that we talked about today. Comment on the YouTube video below. Let us know in the comments below what device you want to see Stadia on that it's not on right now. Maybe it is your Fitbit. Maybe you want to play Stadia on your Switch. Who knows? Tell us what device you want to see Stadia on that it is not right now. Chris and Richie, we appreciate the two of you hanging out with us tonight here on our side of the podcast world. If people want to find you on the interwebs, where can they go? Mr. Chris.
They can find us over on YouTube at Sounds of Stadia Games, or they can find us on Twitter at Sounds of Stadia. And essentially, just search us out. We do a weekly podcast. We do live streams. We do loads of stuff across the board. Let's Play series. We just wrapped up on another one of those. And just like you guys, we're here to play games, have fun, mess around, talk Stadia, basically. And we've got episode 69 coming up this very Monday. So, Get your leather, your whips out for the Indiana Jones conversation.
Oh my! Now I got to change the COPPA rating on this video. I got to mark it not for kids now.
It's all for Indiana Jones talk. That's all it's about.
And if they want to follow you particularly, where can they find you on Twitter?
And they can find me at CyberChris2077, and I will not be delayed, and I'm not full of bugs.
He is.
That we know of. I mean,
but he is breathtaking.
Yes. And Richie, where can people find you online?
You can find me at RichieC89 on Twitter. All the Sounds of Stadia stuff as well.
And since you went second, is there anything else you want our listeners to know about you, about Sounds of Stadia, about your favorite type of chip buddy? I mean, tell us.
Chris is full of bugs.
You heard it here.
Coronavirus.
Yeah, is he frozen or is he just not moving? He actually might be full of bugs right now because I think the screen is frozen or he is being
that is perfect timing then.
That is okay. No, his totally scrambled. That's
am I back? Am I here?
Yeah, you're back.
Sort of.
Yeah, you're
in
like
spirit.
Like 20 seconds behind, yeah.
That is hilarious. You said it, and suddenly Chris was full of bugs.
Like switch.
I'll just laugh and hope it goes along with it.
Oh, live shows, folks. Amazing that they are. Check out, by the way, speaking of awesome game streams that you can find not only on the Sounds of Stadia channel,
Hack the system.
but also right here on Stadia Source. Check out the Stream Team Dream Team playing all week and weekend long right here on Source Feed Live, including, and now your mama knows, Power Up Plus later this evening, Dom's Stadia Domination, and some Dom by Daylight action when he's doing the DVD streams, Triumph City's Community Playground, Scarlet's Ready Gamer 1, F-Tendo's Dad Time Gaming and Brews and Bruises, and Blue Bob's The Break Even Point, and the Hotspot with EGMix and coming in a few weeks. I swear, I'm almost done building these stupid games. It's the Stadia Game Show. It's harder than it looks to write trivia questions about the 100 games that we have that are not super obscure. So but that is coming soon. If you tuned in live, we absolutely appreciate you being here with us in the live audience. And once again, as is tradition on the Stadia Source Roundtable podcast, I have failed to pull up the page that I know I'm going to need to pull up at the end of every single one of these shows, which is this list of people who support us on YouTube. And it's actually not even loading. Oh, there we go. Okay. Sorry, I was about to tell Dan, tech support needed. Such as these folks in the crystal tier, the platinum tier, the gold tier, the silver tier, and the bronze tier, as well as, we had a whole lot more people buy us a coffee. Every week, it gets bigger. Yay. So if you want to be one of those folks, you can hit the join button right down below on YouTube, or you can hit the buy us a coffee link here at the bottom next to all of these wonderful options. So we appreciate all of those folks for your support of StadiaSource.com and NeverSource for Stadia Media Strip. If, sorry, and I got to say goodnight to the roundtable. It's literally in the show notes, you guys. It's literally right there. Dan, thank you for being on your show tonight.
Thank you for having me on my show tonight.
Dom, good to chat with you as always.
It's been too long.
It has.
We did miss you
because you didn't even hear last week. So we're seeing you fortnightly now. So it's good to have you. Is that we're seeing you every other day off the battle bus fortnightly? No. Anyways, Anthony, good to chat with you. Yes, got it one more time before the end of the show.
Awesome to be back, guys. Make sure you check out All Purple Champ Power Up Plus. I'll be streaming at 7 p.m. Eastern, pretty much right after this show. And make sure you guys check out Sounds of Stadia and see if they'll get to 8,000 before I get to my 1,000.
Yeah, go subscribe. Go hit the subscribe button down there. If you are listening to the podcast, you can join us live most Thursday evenings right here on YouTube. And if you are watching us on YouTube, you can download our podcast on Spotify, Pocket Casts, and everywhere else you get podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter at StadiaSource, like us on Facebook, try not to subvert democracy, and join our Discord at StadiaSource.com/Discord. You can even wear Stadia Source when you are out and about by going to StadiaSource.com/merch. The music at the top of the show is Summer in the Neighborhood by Bad Snacks. You can check out her music at badsnacks.bandcamp.com. Hosting for StadiaSource.com generously provided by Rock. You can check out the technical expertise of Rock at rokk.co.uk. If you haven't already, down below is a thumbs up button that lets us know you like the show, and right next to it is a subscribe button that lets you know every time we post a new video. You can also become a member of the Stadia Source channel by clicking the join button with amazing perks at every level of your budget. For Stadia Source, your number one source for Stadia news and reviews. Thank you for joining the Stadia Source Roundtable podcast. My name is Avery. Have a good one.